So first of all, if you're eating broccoli 7 times a day, you're an idiot. You're like, yeah.
Live from Ibiza, this is Cafe Diem with your host, Michelle Reed, and my special guest, Adam Stansbury, also known as the Plant-Powered PT. How are we this morning, Adam?
Amazing, thank you. Got my plants in the background, all is good.
What makes me, I want to say me Tarzan, or no, you Tarzan, me Jane when I look at that. So where are you coming to us from today, Adam?
So I'm at the Hub in Ibiza, the co-working space.
Okay, cool. Shout out to the Hub. Shout
out to the Hub. And this is rapidly becoming a room that I've used for my own webinars and stuff, just purely because of the plants in the background. I'm sort of making it my home.
Cool. I like it. You feel at home in that background.
Exactly. Yeah. Nature.
Cool. So for people that don't know Adam, new to the island from August, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. August.
But has been a personal trainer since 2009. So a veteran when it comes to PTing for sure.
Yeah.
And if you, what got you into the game, Adam?
I've been training myself for about 10 years beforehand. I was like geeky about everything to do with the gym and watching bodybuilding stuff, reading magazines and books and things. And I've been a professional model for about 6 years as well in Manchester and in the UK and then London. So I kept in shape, for quite a long time. And then I had this phone conversation with my brother one day, and it was about computers, and he was saying to me that I should know what I was doing. It was so easy, and I got off the phone. I was just like, he's so geeky about what he does. He's found something that he lives and breathes and he loves so much that that he just absorbs information. I was like, what's that thing for me? What's my inner geek? And then it was that moment that I realized I was like, I've been doing it for the last 10 years in terms of my own, my own personal kind of life. And so I just thought, wow, it's got to be personal training, nutrition, and anything to do with fitness, really.
Cool. Very cool. Before we get into your proper story, I do want to let people know that you do work from Ibiza and you're only online, I believe. Right? Only online?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got to keep rolling. The show must go on.
The show must go on. But just saying that you're only online. Do you only train online or do you train one-on-one as well?
Well, I do now. I was my big goal this year is part of this story of being in Ibiza was for since 2011, I've been sort of working my way more and more online. And this year, that was my main goal, was to get everything online. Yeah. Because I wanted to start doing a bit more traveling. I wanted to be a bit freer with the life I was living. So I was gradually phasing out one-to-one clients in London. COVID-19 happened, pushed everything I was doing online anyway, and then so it kind of unraveled from there. Now I'm in Ibiza, everything's just online at the moment, but I am considering maybe at some point in the not too distant future doing some one-to-one training as well. So I'll talk more about that on social and stuff when that happens.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of us. There's a lot. Yeah. So I as well am a certified fitness and nutrition coach as well, but I only made the move into this about 3 years ago. Right. So when we moved to Ibiza, it was time for me to also, I'd been doing the same thing as you, actually, like training myself in the gym for quite some time, and then re-looked at it myself and was like, what's my purpose? What's my passion? Yeah. And of course, like you, that's what it was. So interesting. So we do have a lot in common when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Adam and I have never met. We've only ever met on social media. And I found you originally when you said you were first moving to Ibiza. I figured it would be a really good person to have a chat with. So
I really appreciate you having me on. I really do, because I'm new to the island. So it's great to kind of meet you and be welcomed onto the island and sort of getting into the community is really important for me now. So
there are some incredible well-being warriors on this island. So if you're not a DJ or into the music scene, you either do property or fitness.
Yeah.
There's the three things that people do on this island. So cool. Well, thank you for being a guest, Adam. I really appreciate it. And now what's on my mind is what's brewing? What's in your cup, Adam? Do you have a cup with you today?
What's in my cup is it's a flat white with oat milk.
Okay, cool. Is that what you always drink? That sounds nice.
Non-dairy, of course. Yeah. I do love cacao. I drink quite a lot of cacao at home. I make cacao with raw cacao and oat milk and coconut cream and agave and some spices and stuff. So I'm a big fan of cacao in the morning. So I sort of interchange that between that and coffee, and I like coffee to help me focus and help get the words out.
Cool. So if you were making a coffee at home, what kind of a device do you use to make your coffee?
We've got a Bialetti stovetop coffee maker, which is amazing. It does make it like rocket fuel, so you've got to be careful how much coffee you put in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and minimize my coffee to no more than 2 a day, and sort of try and drink it at choice moments where I just need that little bit of push. Cool. When creativity is needed,
Totally. And that's how I would say during our first lockdown in Spain, my partner and I would always look forward to having a coffee every morning. That was one of the things that actually got us out of bed and, that we're excited about doing. So this is where Cafe Diem originated from.
Okay, cool.
So having a coffee first thing in the morning, which was because we were going to bed at like 9 or 10, waking up at 6 in the morning, having our first coffee, and then talking about well-being.
Nice. Well, my other thing is dark chocolate as well. So I love a bit of dark chocolate with the coffee.
Cool. Did they give you the dark chocolate at is it the Modern Hippie?
No, they didn't. No, I bought my own.
Okay, cool. Where do you buy your dark chocolate? Everyone would want to know. Oh, cool.
You've probably seen that brand around.
I have.
It's an 82% one. It's actually my favourite one on the island that I found, actually. It's smooth and it's, strong.
Cool. Very cool. Smooth and strong.
Smooth and strong.
Cool. Awesome. So very clear. So oat milk latte or flat white, I think, clear. Nice. And if you were to go anywhere on the island other than where you are now to have a coffee, where would that be?
I think I'd have to give a shout out. I mean, there's so many cool places. It's a difficult one to answer, but I do like the Nude Cafe in Ibiza town.
Yes.
Shout out to Chris at the Nude Cafe. I've had some cool conversations with him recently, and he's welcomed me in there and stuff. And actually, they do an amazing vegan falafel wrap there as well. So
cool. Okay, cool. And I've never actually been to Nude Cafe. I've seen your post before, so I definitely need to get down there. Ibiza town, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, clear. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we move on from coffee. And we did touch upon how you got into this game, but was there something in your past that really was drawing you into the health and fitness field? Or is it just like you said, you were training yourself and it was time to start training other people?
Yeah. I mean, I realized that it was it was the thing that I was so passionate about that I've been doing for so many years anyway.
Yeah.
It just felt a natural process to transfer that passion from my personal life into professional life, because I was at a point in my life where I really didn't know what to do. In fact, I found that most of my life I was like that until I got to that point, which was when I was 30. So it's, it's only been like the last 10, 11, 12 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was really active at school. I was always out playing sports with friends. I played a lot of tennis when I was a kid as well. And I was always really fascinated by, looking at the guys on the front covers of Men's Health and Men's Fitness and stuff. That was always a really sort of an inspirational image, I think, for a young boy growing up. And I was actually teased by my teachers at school for being a little bit overweight.
Okay.
And I think that's what kind of gave me this drive into fitness, into improving my physique. And that was it. So I turned something negative into a positive. So it gave me a lot of positive drives there and energy. But I think ultimately I had to unpack that a little bit as to kind of being, stepping away from my drive in fitness just being about the purely aesthetic external look, and actually starting to kind of worry a bit more about like what's going on internally, and also now what's going on around us in the planet and the impact all our choices are having. So, yeah.
It's a shame that your teachers were making fun of you. That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's not good, right?
No, it's terrible.
It's not the one. And I think, I'm not sure if that happens to a lot of kids still these days, but, like I said, I was able to sort of turn it into a positive.
Yeah, what a shame. And were you on the cover of a men's fitness magazine?
I did do the cover of Men's Fitness, and I was on the cover of another magazine called Healthy for Men, which was in GNC back in the UK. So that was the top of my heyday. I never made it onto Men's Health. That was always the one, but that eluded me. So
hey, still could.
Still time.
Total still time, for sure. Cool. Interesting. I like that. Awesome. All right. So from getting into health and fitness, can you remember your very, very first time in Ibiza? So not since you've moved here, but the very first time you came into Ibiza and fell in love with Ibiza, Adam. Can you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was 2005. It was my best friend of 15 years now. I just met him at the time, and his girlfriend was having a 21st party. Mm-hmm. So everyone had come over from the UK, and we were all staying in a big villa. It was a messy holiday. That was my kind of first introduction to Ibiza and the crazy clubbing side of it. And what's blown me away since coming here now is just there's so much to the island. There's so much more to the island that it gets stereotypically pigeonholed, into being that sort of place. But when you come here, you realise just there's so many wonderful things going on, so many different sides to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was she was turning 21. We were about the same age then when you were 21, first time you came?
15 years ago. No, I was a bit older. So.
Okay. But that was typical. Most guests will say that was where they came. I maybe had one or two people on the show that had come for like a retreat or something the very first time, but most people come for the clubs for sure. Yeah, Hands up, I definitely came for the clubs, and it was only until we moved here that we understood the other side of the island, really. Yeah. So in the last kind of 5 years, maybe. But yeah, there's definitely two sides of the island for people who don't know. Yeah. We haven't had the clubs this year, so all we've done is get into wellness, really, right?
Yeah. It's like, if you can really feel it now. I've really felt it the last week, actually. The change of energy on the island it's become much calmer and quieter and more peaceful, and it's a nice feeling now. And this time of year, everyone was saying, autumn and winter's amazing here. And for me, one of the reasons getting out of London and the UK was just I was struggling over the last few years in winter, with from like October till March, having the darkness and the grey skies. And over here so far, it's, even though it's this time of year, it's still like 20 degrees or so during the day. The sky's blue. It's colder in the morning and the evening, which is nice, makes sleeping a bit easier now. Mm-hmm. But it's still having the blue sky and the sunlight there just really does wonders for me and my well-being. Yeah,
totally. I would say that most of the UK suffers with SAD for sure. Yeah. So it's like even when we had, I think it was maybe a week ago or so, we had 3 or 4 days that were just a bit dull, and I kind of felt it then as well. So the people in the UK, oh my God, that was because I lived there for 10 years. And that was one thing that really I struggled with was the grayness of London. Yeah. So there's a lot of people coming over here now that are, sick of the UK and everything that's going on in the UK and coming over here for those bluer skies and the sea and everything. Totally. So it's a beautiful way of life.
It is. And I think from being in lockdown earlier this year, I was like, I can't be here in winter if this happens again. And I just felt like it was probably going to happen again. Yeah. So I sort of pushed forward and fast-tracked my exit.
Yeah.
Out of the country. And I think quite a few people did. I think there's been quite an exodus of people.
Totally. I'm in a girls group, and there's like constantly new people coming into this girls group. Probably almost 200 women in this group now that are like, just move to Ibiza. So everybody's coming here for those blue skies and that hiking and that mother nature, which is what we need as humans.
Yeah. To thrive. Yeah, absolutely. I needed the nature. I realized I'd done London, I've had about 13 years in London, and I was just like, I'm ready to leave the city now and get back to nature. And I think even though here we've still got the restrictions in terms of curfew and, you know, only being able to hang around with a few people, small groups, but we've got the blue skies, we've got the beach, we've got the sea. Yeah. So it's almost like we found this kind of glitch in the matrix a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
Our little bubble.
Yeah.
Our little island bubble. Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Cool. So since August, what have you been up to since August, Adam, since you moved here?
Kind of just landing, really, trying to catch my breath a little bit. It's been fairly turbulent in a good way, you know, through some different personal sort of stories and stuff, but I've ended up in an amazing relationship with a best friend of mine for 13 years. So that's been quite as you can imagine, quite an amazing experience. Yeah. Getting to know the islands, just really, you know, just really trying to get to know her and integrate myself with her. You just found a new place that we're going to be moving into in December. Cool. Near San Carlos, in nature there. So really looking forward to that. And just what I noticed in the first few weeks coming here, you know, we arrived and then you're in a kind of almost holiday mode. Mm-hmm. You know, when you first get here, and then after sort of 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, no, I need to refocus now. So what's been really nice is actually over the last, I'd say, month, I've just got myself refocused on my business and what I'm doing with working with clients online. And so I'm feeling really focused at the moment, and I think the energy here really helps with that. So I'm feeling super creative and looking forward to the next few months. And
the energy and the coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Dark chocolate. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. That's clear. I want to know more about your business though.
Oh.
So when you originally got into the personal training, were you vegetarian or plant-based or?
No way. I was a massive meat eater. I was eating like steaks for breakfast. Okay. I was eating chicken breast throughout the day, whey protein shakes whenever I could in between. And, you know, it was all about animal protein. I was kind of, at the time, you know, I was a big proponent of the paleo diet. So very heavy protein, very low carbohydrate, high fat. I kind of looked down my nose at vegan clients at the time, thinking that they were just an annoyance because they wouldn't eat any chicken. And so now I've learned a lot, and I now know differently. But it's so funny how I get people now coming to me saying my personal trainer won't train me, or he doesn't think I can achieve what I want to achieve because he's saying I'm not willing to eat animal protein.
I heard that.
I know, because I've been there. And when you're in the fitness industry and you know, if you're only subjected to one way of training and eating, then and that's got you results, that's the thing you focus on. Totally. You become very blinkered in your approach to anything outside of that. You just don't think is effective or works. But now I've had over sort of 5 years as an animal protein based PT, but I've now also had over 5 years of being a vegan personal trainer. Okay. So I'm in a pretty good position now to be able to say what works or what doesn't work, what's best, you know. And I can sort of say that you can still achieve exactly what you can achieve on both diets, you know. So,
okay. Yeah. Cool. But would you, because from my point of view as a nutrition coach, I've also been, I've tried vegan. That didn't work for me. Vegetarian, was a very strict vegetarian for pretty much my whole 10 years in London. And then since coming to Spain I've started to eat a lot more meat since coming to Spain. And I mean, when I say a lot more meat, it's probably a couple times a week. It's not every day, but never been a big processed meat person ever. And I mean, one of the first things I knocked on the head when I was bacon, and just never miss bacon again. But do you guide people into what's right for them, or are you very much like you, plant-based is the right choice?
So everything I do is all about non-judgment. So it's all about like 6 or so years ago, I was eating so much meat and I was locked into that way of living and being. How can I be critical of someone who's there at the moment, expecting them to understand what I now understand, you know? So I take it very much the ethos of progress, not perfection, in terms of someone's journey. If someone comes to me for nutritional advice, I always say, well, it's only going to come from a plant-based perspective, because that's that's kind of what I believe in, and that's my kind of authentic truth, and that's what I'm trying to kind of help people to understand better, because there's a lot of myths out there. I think it is important to find what works for you. It's better that someone's 85% plant-based and 15% not, rather than just not bothering at all. And we can have a much bigger impact globally and environmentally and ethically if we adopt that, rather than trying to get everyone to be perfect vegans, which is totally unrealistic. I love that, but it's probably unrealistic, you know. So I always try and have a non-judgmental approach to try and help and support and bring more people into, you know, just eating more plants and then seeing what works for them. For me, it's all ethically driven, really, for me. So I believe that whilst it's super important that we all eat the right diet to improve our own individual health, we're not thinking about the impact that our food choices are having on the world around us, then it's irrelevant whether you're healthy as an individual or not, because we are a collective, we're a collective organism. And whilst it might be good for a handful of people who can actually afford grass-fed or wild caught fish and all these nice, fancy, posh, expensive items, what about the other 8 billion people on the planet, or 7 billion people on the planet who can't afford to do that? So we have to find, I think, a way of eating that not only improves our health as individuals, but also reduces the impact and the trauma and the suffering on the planet and animals. So that's my spiel.
Yeah, no, I 100% I agree with that as well. I feel that.
The balance between the two. You know?
Yeah, totally. Okay. So why are plant-based diets so important, Adam?
Well, I think whatever diet you eat, I think most people will agree that the more plants you eat, the more benefits you're going to get. The more different coloured fruits and vegetables you're going to have in your diet, the more ranges of different vitamins and minerals you're going to have. In terms of protein on a plant-based diet, your protein's coming with a lot of additional fibre. You know, protein sources obviously on a meat-based diet don't have any additional fibre, and most people are probably fibre deficient rather than protein deficient. You know, fibre is good for digestion. It's good for, you know, getting rid of toxins out of the body. It's good for balancing blood sugar. So I think it's the fibre content of the foods. It's the antioxidants. So the antioxidants that are getting rid of free radicals and toxins in the body. I think that's probably the number one. You know, that's the number one keeper, really, from a plant-based diet perspective. So the more plants you have in your diet, the more of these antioxidants you're going to be naturally taking on board. You're just going to be eating a diet that's much more nutrient dense as opposed to being calorie dense.
Okay.
You know?
So then I've also recently, since this year, gone down a rabbit hole with the carnivore diet. And that is so extreme. I mean, vegan is pretty extreme. And then you've got the carnivore diet on the opposite side of it. And the people that are really, gone down a rabbit hole and done a lot of research about it. And I mean, people do make valid points, and it's not for everybody, just like veganism isn't for everybody. Yeah. But what's your take on that being
So again, this comes back to my previous argument. Okay. Let's stop arguing about what's best just for the individual. We need to move away from that. It's all about me and my health. What about the health of the planet? What about the health of the animals and stuff like that? You know, so I'm sure that there's so many diets that are going to work for one and not for another, right? There's what's one man's food is another man's poison. And I think if we look at the carnivore diet, it may work amazingly well for some people. It may totally go against all the studies that are out there, or, you know, all the generalizations that people make on a good plant-based diet that benefits them. But it's going to be having a huge impact on the world around us. Like, can you imagine 8 billion people are all just eating meat? I mean, can you imagine the demand then for meat, the level of factory farming that there would have to be to sustain that demand? So while the carnivore diet might work for a few people, it's not a sustainable diet that's going to, you know, suit the whole world. And again, for me, it's we need to move away from arguing about the carnivore, the paleo, the keto, the vegan diet. You know, what's the best way of looking after our individual health and the collective health as well? And I just don't think, I think the carnivore is so extreme and is going to create so much more trauma and suffering, because not everyone can go spear fishing, not everyone can go bow hunting, not everyone can go shooting and kill and hunt their food, which I think actually from my perspective is much more honorable, because you're rolling your sleeves up and you're connecting with this natural cycle of life and death on our planet, as opposed to going to the supermarket and just getting your meat from a supermarket and not having a clue what's actually happened to the animal. But again, the majority of the planet can't do that. We don't have the space on the planet to sustain that level of kind of, I guess, that sort of lifestyle.
Yeah, no, so, I 100% agree with you. I think those are all valid points, and it's incredible, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's I like your point on it, that also like not just thinking about yourself, but also thinking about the planet. Yeah. And when I was vegetarian, I was definitely doing it from an ethical point of view and not considering my health as much as I should, which leads me to one of the reasons why I stopped being a vegetarian was when I was told I had a B12 deficiency and had to get the shots of it. And they were either like, you need to start eating more meat or you need to supplement. And that's when I was like, I'm going to bring a little bit more meat back into my diet. So that leads me to another question for people that are, there's a lot of unhealthy vegans out there as well who are doing it purely for an ethical standpoint and possibly not supplementing what they should. What would you suggest for people that that kind of go all guns blazing into a vegetarian or vegan diet, but don't actually look at the supplementation that they should be using? What would you suggest for them?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of go back to your first, about B12. So what's really important and what a lot of people don't realize is that if you're eating factory farmed animals, they're being fed feed that contains supplementation. So they're probably being fed feed that's made from monocrop cultured soybeans, that are going to be deficient in a lot of other nutrients,
or corn.
Yeah, and there's a multi-million-dollar industry that actually supplies supplements for the feed. So you might be thinking that you're eating a burger or a chicken breast that's giving you all of these different nutrients, but actually that animal is being fed supplements along the feed line, right? So the animals you're eating have been taking the B12 supplement most of the time, right? So I think it's really important to remember that. To supplement just because you're eating a meat-based diet as well doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be deficient. There's a study done by the International, Sports Medicine Society in the US. Don't quote me on that name, but there's a study out there that showed they studied 70 different athletes' diets, and every single one came back deficient on at least 3 nutrients. And they weren't even studying plant-based or vegan diets. These were a whole spectrum of diets that contained animal products, right? So most people are going to be deficient in something or another, and depending on where they get their food from, especially
our soil doesn't have the nutrient density anymore.
The carbon dioxide in the air is reducing the nutrient quality of plants and stuff as well. So I think it's really important that we stop. Like, for me, as a society, we tend to pigeonhole things as black and white rather than looking at the grey area. Things are much more complex than saying this is good, this is bad. We need to have a bit more kind of critical thinking, I think, going on here. Then going on to what we were talking about in terms of supplementation, I always recommend people get themselves tested first of all. That will prevent you just blowing loads of money on supplements that you may or may not need, because lots of people just use nutrients at different rates as other people, right? Or store nutrients differently. On a plant-based diet, obviously B12 is the only one that you can't really get naturally. So that's always a good one to have and take and supplement with. You can get lots of foods that are also fortified with things like B12 and vitamin D now as well. Again, get yourself tested and see how that looks. And then, of course, omega-3s. We can get omega-3s from seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds and stuff like that, but it's in the form of ALA, which your body has to convert into EPA and DHA. And so the best way to get those essential fatty acids are from algae oil. So it's basically, it's the the fish eat the algae and people extract the oil from the fish. So instead of eating the fish oil, we're removing the middleman again, and we're just taking the algae, manufacturing the oil from the algae. So that's a good source for vegan omega-3s. Obviously D3, the further away you live from the equator, whether you're on a plant-based diet or not, you're going to be low in D3, I expect, especially going back to the cool guys in the UK at the moment.
Yeah.
Good idea to supplement with your D3 this time of year, definitely. Other things like iodine, you can get from obviously sea vegetables, nori, Japanese sea vegetables, good source naturally of iodine. And what else?
Calcium, maybe as well. Calcium you get from leafy greens.
Yeah, from your leafy greens. I wouldn't say calcium's. I haven't seen such a big need for that. People seem to be fine on calcium that I've kind of been in contact with. But yeah, definitely your D3, iodine, B12, omega-3s, and maybe zinc and iron as well. Iron more for women, zinc more for men. So yeah, those would be my general. But yeah, get yourself tested.
Number one for sure. If you think you have any deficiencies, for sure. Where would you get zinc if it's not going to come? I guess pumpkin seeds or.
Yeah, pumpkin seeds are an amazing source of zinc and iron, actually. I think pumpkin seeds and good source of protein as well. Yeah.
Cool. Which then leads us on to one of the most misconceptions when it comes to a plant-based diet. Where do you get your protein?
Yeah.
What would you say is your go-to for your protein as a vegan?
My go-to is number one, eating the rainbow, eating as diverse a range of plant foods as you possibly can. If you do that anywhere, you're going to get a wide variety of different amino acids in your diet, because protein is made up of amino acids, right? And it's the essential amino acids that we need from our food. And we get so caught up in this idea of protein coming from one source, we forget there's protein in everything. So you can get pretty much all the protein you need as long as you're eating a really diverse diet. Now there's going to be different populations that require more protein. So, obviously if we're talking about athletes and bodybuilders and people wanting to improve their fitness, maybe people recovering from injury or illness, they're going to require more protein. So, again, up level would then be your pumpkin seeds, your hemp seeds, your chia seeds and your nuts. And then we kind of move into maybe like your legumes, your beans, mung beans, your black beans, chickpeas, all these kinds of things. And then kind of the more isolated, higher protein sources on a plant diet would be, your tofu, tempeh, seitan, those kind of foods. And then obviously from then, your plant-based protein powders are going to be the highest levels of protein that have been more refined,
Okay. And what's your go-to for a vegan protein?
Powder.
Yeah.
Powder.
Yeah.
Can we mention brands?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because we'll put the link in the description box below for people that want it for sure.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I've always been a big fan of Raw Sport.
Okay.
They're an amazing company in the UK. Dean Howell owns it. He's a real stickler for the ingredients that they put into their products. So all the products are like the best quality superfoods. They're my favorite for kind of sports supplements. It's all vegan, plant-based. They've got an amazing range of supplements.
Cool.
And I'll give you a discount code as well. People will get 20% off. But
Perfect.
Yeah, they're really good products.
Awesome. Okay, on that one. Okay, so as we're both into the fitness side of the business as well, what would be your favorite post-workout protein-packed recipe, Adam? I know you have recipe books, so you could share one.
So if I was going for a smoothie, if I was post-workout, I'd probably make a smoothie, and the ideal one, I guess, would be maybe something with coconut water in it. So getting the added electrolytes from the coconut water, maybe a couple of bananas for the carbohydrates and the glucose, raspberries. Big fan of raspberries in there. And then I would have some form of vanilla protein powder. put in there. So you're getting a really kind of a higher protein, high carbohydrate post-workout smoothie. You want to try and keep the fats fairly low on your post-workout meal because it helps with protein synthesis and for your body to absorb the carbohydrates, right? So that would be a good post-workout smoothie.
Cool.
Fairly simple. You can always throw in some greens in there if you wanted, or some blueberries maybe for the extra antioxidants, which would be good post-training. But yeah, that's what I would do for a smoothie. If it was a whole food meal, then I'd probably go for something with rice and beans in it and different vegetables and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Now this is a personal question. Before we do wrap up, because it's been 10:30, or it is on 10:30. So I just have a personal question. And this is again from going down the rabbit hole of the carnivore diet. Not something I follow, but just again as a.
It's interesting at the moment. As you can see,
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I fully agree that we couldn't have the whole population of the planet on a carnivore diet because that we would no longer be on this earth any longer, right?
Yeah.
It's just not. And also, even being in Ibiza, trying to be on a carnivore diet, you don't have the proper pasture raised, grass-fed beef. It's just, anyways, it's not right. But their point on the oxalates and the lectins and that plants actually have a natural defense. They can't move, they can't run, so they have like a natural pesticide. What's up with that, and how can you kind of explain that to me, that eating too much plant or eating too much of anything isn't good, right? We need to have moderation in our diet, whatever it is. So if you eat broccoli 7 times a day, every day, you're probably gonna feel eating too much broccoli that much. So where is that coming from, and what's your point on that? What's your stance on that, Adam?
So first of all, if you're eating broccoli 7 times a day, you're an idiot.
How about spinach like 6 times a day? If I put it in my smoothie and I put it in my lunch and I put it in my dinner.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, we've just lost all sight of what's balanced. And I remember seeing the book that came out, I think it was last year or the year before, about it. And I don't know a huge amount of the science behind it, but again, if you eat number one, if you soak your grains and you soak your nuts and seeds, if you soak your beans, you can reduce the effects that kind of like phytic acid and stuff like that will have in the body. If you eat a really broad range, again, if you're eating the rainbow, if you're eating a broad range of different coloured vegetables and fruits, and you're not solely eating one thing, then your body's going to be able to deal with, processing all these different foods. My take is that you just need to be balanced with what you're doing and what you're eating, and it's the more balanced and more variety you have in your diet, the better you're going to be from a nutrient intake point of view, and the less likely you are going to be affected by these kind of things. It's when we become so obsessed with eating the same thing day in, day out, I think we can then create problems. And I'd also just say I feel great. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and I know lots of other people who are thriving on it. And so I think one thing is in all of this is I try and, there's always a study to back up a belief system that you might have on nutrition, right? Because again, people are saying the carnivore diet works and people are saying the high carb vegan diet works. For me, it always really comes back to my own personal experience that I've had with myself and I've had with clients, and the way I see people thrive on a plant-based diet if it's done properly, in the balanced way. It's just being thinking about. It's
got to be well planned. I think, because there's a lot of people that go into like Veganuary, for instance, and it's not well planned. And you need to really, like you say, eat the rainbow and understand what the micronutrients and the macronutrients that your body needs. And it is different for everybody. And for me, vegan didn't work. I'm not saying it couldn't work now, but when I tried it, it just didn't work. So I think that's really important. And I totally, I understand your points and I understand your principle, and I believe in what you're saying. So it's really nice to talk to you about this.
Yeah, you too as well. Yeah, we could go on for hours talking about this. So.
Totally. And you will. I think actually, how can people get a hold of you, Adam? Like if they want to know more, if they want to entry into this, if they want to start to, understand this sort of lifestyle a little bit more, how can people find you?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I'm doing a free webinar on Wednesday, the 18th of November, called The Skeptic's Guide to Plant-Based Training.
Okay.
So I can discuss all things surrounding plant-based diets and how it can affect your training and stuff, and give you real-world examples from my life and clients, and answer questions, Q&As and stuff like that. You can sign up for that on my website. There's plenty of links there.
Yeah.
My website is theplantpoweredpt.com.
Okay.
And so that's my website. My Instagram is the Plant Powered PT as well. So people will be able to find me there. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's the kind of main social media channel that I use. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I appreciate it. I really do. And like I say, what happens a lot, especially if you've had a coffee, by the end of the half an hour, the caffeine is kicking in and we could continue talking for another 25 minutes. And hence why Cafe DM was born. So anything that you want to just wrap up with, Adam, for anybody that might be, again, have a question mark over it, or they say like, I'm never getting rid of my meat, just anything that you want to just wrap up with?
Yeah, I'd say step away from thinking that if you eat vegan for a day, it means you're vegan. Like, try and remove the vegan label from it, and just actually see it as you exploring a totally new way of eating and being creative and exploring life and stuff. That's how we should approach everything. It's just like, when you become so dogmatic in your approach to anything in life, you're missing out potentially on a whole load of other great, cool stuff, So I think move away from it being this, if I eat vegan for a day, that's it for the rest of my life. Just enjoy maybe it for a day or a meal without meat and see how you feel. And then and again, let your body give you feedback. If it starts feeling good, then do more of it, and then work with that, and then find the balance that works for you with your lifestyle, with your ethics, with your health and the planet, and then be the change that you want to see in the world,
Yeah. That's awesome. I fully agree. Hand on heart, I agree the same thing. So excellent. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you face to face one day and having a real coffee and a nice plant-based meal.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this.
Awesome. So for anybody looking to get a hold of Cafe DM, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook under Cafe DM Ibiza. Come over and say hello. And we will have our next guest next week is an intuitive eating coach. So her name is Tasha, and she will come and talk to us about getting ready for Christmas. So if you've been struggling with your eating, we have another guest based on nutrition next week. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. And thank you, Adam, for being guest 26 on Cafe DM.
Awesome.
Which was brewed in Ibiza, out of lockdown, for a love of black coffee, well-being, and early mornings. This is us signing out on Wellbeing Wednesday, the 4th of November, and we will see you next week for another guest. Adios. Thank you.